Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Hos Bright Esports i Västerås kan du testa på både NASCAR och olika formulabilar, precis som Svenska Eracingligan deltagare. Gå in på brightesports.com och boka just din tid.
And as we hit crunch time in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, we come to the first and only road course of the season. We've had 10 rounds of oval action going to the left, but now we're going to have some right-handed corners for the first time this season. Of course, it's Watkins, Glen and the AMRT Grand Prix. We can't wait to see how this is going to work out, something completely different to what we normally have. As I said, it's the only road course of the season, so it's a bit of a different driving style, a different car config, and of course, different tyres to manage. Here is where we've been over the course of the season. We started back in August of 2023 at Daytona before working our way through to now to round 11 at Watkins, Glen. We start the final run for the regular season between now and Talladega. We'll work out who is going to get inside the top 15 and get through to our playoffs before we have 5 rounds of action to see who our champion will be at Homestead Miami on the 9th of May. So still about 5 months to go of the season, still a lot of racing to go. And we can't wait to see how it is going to work out. But of course, the standings are very close. You get yourself a win and you get yourself automatically into those playoff spots. Yes, Ericsson has 4 of them, Blix with 2, Holmwell with 2. Actually winning the last 2 races. Indeed, Haflidsson and Aradsson also with 1 win apiece. But it's very tight down there to get yourself inside the top 15 with Erling, Lundström, and Lundberg, I should say, and Broström just outside. So they need to be trying to pick up a few more points over the course of the next 5 rounds. It's been an amazing season so far, and we can't wait to see how these drivers are going to handle, of course, this road course. But it's myself, Cameron Roger. We've got Connery Maddock alongside me in the commentary box and on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And Connery, great to have you alongside me. And to be honest, I can't wait to see just the different dynamic that we're going to get this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here. Of course, my first appearance in this series, and it's on a NASCAR road course, so that's going to be an interesting one to join in on. It's going to be a different challenge for these drivers, like you've already mentioned as well, Cam, because I'm spotting a couple of relatively low road iRatings out there. So it's going to be a very, very big challenge for these guys who may not be used to this sort of situation before. I mean, we see in the top level NASCAR series that we have here on iRacing that there do tend to be road course specialists in and amongst the pack where they could potentially come to the forefront in this race, even though they might struggle and be sort of mid-pack in a normal oval.
Absolutely, it's a completely different style of driving, to be honest, and also the car itself is physically different. And the main thing that we're talking with Linus Broström, of course, driver here, but also league admin in the 71 machine, who's saying basically the tyres can do the whole race distance. So they're going to be having to push the whole time. There's no drop off to worry about. So you are just going to have to be doing 71 qualifying laps later on, and therefore you have to be comfortable in the car and also turning right, as you see here quite a few times around this course. Yes, Ericsson is leading the way by 7/10 of a second in this qualifying session. That is quite a bit more than we normally see for pole position. It's normally a couple of thousandths, but yeah, certainly the field spreading out a little bit. Blix goes up into second, but Haflidsson just beats him 2/10 off Ericsson.
Yeah, absolutely. They're bringing the cars to a stop here at the moment as well. Of course, they only get 2 flying laps here in this qualifying session. Not a lot of room for error in the grand scheme of things here. So we might see a number of drivers not actually get themselves their qualifying laps in when all is said and done, because you only have that, those 2 opportunities, I suppose, to be able to get those fast laps in. But we've had you had Ericsson. Obviously, he's now 2/10 of a second ahead of Haflidsson. Of course, Haflidsson going to be one of our top runners, has always been in this series, and we'll get to see his webcam a little bit later on as well. But we've got 20 seconds left in the session. Here's Oscar Fredriksson currently on the last couple of moments of his second flying lap here. We'll be able to get to the line in time, 10 seconds. Going to be pushing it.
Yeah, so Fredriksson's one of those drivers who, well, he's currently sitting obviously inside that top 15, but he's one of the drivers always he backs out of that one who possibly could sneak himself a race victory. His team, Force, they've been looking very good this season. Of course, with Aronson up there, Ericsson as well, but he hasn't quite been able to get on that top step. We'll have to see what sort of carnage we get. It's going to be a very interesting one with how this works out. 71 laps of action. We're expecting tyres to go the whole distance, so you just need fuel at some point. But here's your grid for today. Ericsson, Havlicson on that front row, with Gunnarsson and Blix on the second row. Aronson and Dan Solo round out your top 6. So definitely Watkins looking very good, but also Force with 2 cars up there inside the top 6. Robert Ericsson is in 7th place with Dan Holmer. Your winner of the 2 previous races is in 8th. Fredriksson and Wahlin inside your top 10. Peter Helmbro, pole position around a couple of times this season, is in 11th, with Lundberg in 12th place, ever present up towards the front, but not quite inside the top 15 in the championship. Holmgren and Saland inside your top 14, with Alder in 15th place and Kenneth in 16th. Linus Brewstrom down in 17th place, is expecting him to be a little bit higher, but Uvenham follows him in behind in 18th place in the front 9 rows. Holmbaum and Bjorn Brostrom are in the top 20, with Anton Orman and Ratberg inside your top 22. Nieholm and Larson round out your top 24, and I believe this is the final page with 30 drivers on the grid today, with Wallin, Hawkenshot there in 22nd place, with Erling Johansson, Hagman and Skoglund rounding out your 30-car field. And some drivers there, a couple of seconds off pace in qualifying, and we'll have to see how that transitions to the race pace. But Conor, I think especially with the cup layout of Watkins Glen we have here, we know it's notorious for the track limits and the exit of turn of turn 1, the exit turn 6 as well. It's going to be quite interesting how they sort of how the racecraft manages itself between these drivers.
Yeah, it is going to be really quite interesting because, again, like I said, these drivers may not necessarily be used or too used to road course racing. That is a trend that we tend to see. But at the same time, given the tyre situation where they don't really drop off and in fact get faster, it's going to really promote some aggressive racing. These guys are going to be going all out, attacking every single corner of this racetrack for 71 laps, and that might have its own consequences.
It certainly will. Of course, we have the potential for cautions. We'll see how it's going to work out within the sort of admins call that. But we have said if there's a big crash coming up the hill through turn 2 and 3, we might get a restart. But I'm hoping that we're not going to have that. But you were mentioning actually about the iRatings of some of these drivers. And of course, there's the iRatings for ovals and the road courses. We have a driver here who's sub 1000 in the iRating, which is certainly quite interesting. Although most people are A and B licensed, so they've certainly done enough races there. But definitely, it's funny actually, Connie, how it transitions, because you'd think racing is racing, but it really isn't in the 2 styles that we've got here.
Yeah, absolutely. They're 2 different disciplines for a reason, and it's always intriguing when we go to road course races in typically oval series, and sometimes we do it the other way around as well. And when some of the open wheelers, even some series do like the Formula 4s on oval sometimes. So it's always interesting when this spanner sort of gets thrown in the works. Of course, the drivers will have done their very, very best to prepare, especially for those knowing that they might not quite be as prepared as they would be as on their regular oval. But it sets up for a very, very interesting race, potentially one of the more interesting races that we'll get this season.
Yeah, it's going to be. I can't wait to see how this is actually going to work itself out. I am actually expecting it to be a little bit of chaos in the opening parts, but I think what we'll see is, because there's actually going to be quite a separation in the lap time, I'm expecting it to just spread out a little bit more, and hopefully we do get some rather nice racing, to be honest, between these drivers. See, they're trying to get some heat in those tyres and trying to work their way towards the final couple of corners. It's going to be a pretty tricky one, I'd say, for some of these drivers to get up to speed as well. Slightly different style of racing, but what we do see is the normal drivers up towards the front. Ericsson, of course, leads in the championship. Havliderson missed the last race, but he is, of course, race winner as well, and winning potential in further races is going to be certainly a difficult one for these guys. Pace car comes in though. in the AMRT Grand Prix is going to be getting underway. Jesper Eriksson on the front row. We've had Havlitzen alongside him. But look at Gunnarsson from that third position. He's got the run. He's following Eriksson down towards this first corner. First time really braking all season. Up the inside is going to be for Gunnarsson. He has to back out of that one. So Havlitzen holds it on that outside line. They all keep it within those track limits, within the curbs. And it looks like everyone's got through turn one rather nicely. But we go side by side up the hill a little bit further in the background as Dan Holmer gets the run in the orange car.
Absolutely, have to be tricky. It's very tricky going side by side through here at times, but they're somehow able to manage it. We might see 3 wide here back in the pack. Dan Holmer involved in it. You see the drivers of Wahlin trying to get himself involved in it. Kind of get squeezed out of road a little bit. 2 by 2 in towards the bus stop here amongst these guys. Hembro able to hold on ahead, but he's sort of stuffed up the entry to the second apex there. Gets a bit unsettled as well. Maybe a little bit of help from the 72 into the carousel.
Yeah, I think just helped hold on to that position as the 79 completes that, as we said, winning the previous 2 races, so he's got a lot of form at this part of the season, and that is some big wins as well. Pretty much on the last couple of laps, holding on, just narrowly getting those victories, so he knows how to hold on. But yeah, it's definitely a difficult series to win in, that is for sure. We come round to the final corner for the first time. You see it's a very short lap here at Watkins Glen, and that, of course, is going to be a lot of action. Jesper Eriksson still leads the way by 0.6 of a second. Gunnarsson just dropping off the back of Vincent for the top 3 as well. So there's a bit of a send there in the background. Solander's under attack down the inside. I think that's Alder in the 302 machine, but can't quite complete that move.
Yeah, didn't quite get it done. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that particular battle as we have a little bit of a look. A little bit towards the top 5 here. This is going to be Eriksson, involved with Eriksson and Solo in and amongst this battle pack on the way down in towards the bus stop. They are able to get single file for it though. That bus stop, such a crucial portion of this racetrack. You always tense up a little bit when they go too wide into there because they're both massively compromised lines. And sometimes they might trip over each other through that section if they're not too careful, and especially if a third party tries to get itself involved as well. It's always a bit scary and always a bit of a hopeful move.
It's probably one of the scariest corners actually in the whole world of racing, to be honest. It's such a fast chicane, as you say, side by side, very difficult. Eriksson there just going on the inside line, losing a lot of momentum. It's his teammate though on the outside in the 112, Oscar Fredriksson. Got to look out because of the bright esports car just in behind. Although actually he's going to be under attack. Peter Helmbro locking up, getting down the inside of turn 1 as Eriksson gets back past his teammate, but also Helmbro trying to go side by side up the inside of turn 2, obviously flat out through this section. We've got to be trying to use the straightest line possible. Holmer comes back though through the kink of turn 3 and just about holds on, but here comes the slipstream.
Absolutely, so important in these cars, of course, and they're going to be utilising it to its full effect on the way into the braking zone for the bus stop. A little bit of a side-by-side moment behind. This is Oliver Wahlin, that's the number 72 car, involved with the car ahead. That was Hembro, number 77. Out there as they get all strung out single file down through the carousel here. We haven't had any major casualties, shall we say. We've had Tony Uvenen come down on towards pit lane for what seems like a stop and go there. Just 0.6 seconds in the box, and he is back out all the way down in P30. Dead last, no retirements here in the first 3 laps of this event.
Yeah, I guess one thing with the track being, twice the length, even more than twice the length for some of the circuits that we've been doing, you may not go a lap down, but certainly not what you want to be doing is going to the back. Huge send there up the inside. Lumbo's going to have to try and hold that round the outside line, as that is Allard there in the 302 machine, trying to go side by side up the hill once more. Lundberg, though, has the momentum. Actually, Allard, I think, just didn't get the run off turn 1 because he's lost another position. Kenneth Tier comes round the outside of turn 2. That's a lovely move there. Allard really losing that momentum. Actually, I think it's now Linus Brewstrom in behind, the 71 machine, who has the momentum as you come up this back straight towards the infamous bus stop chicane, side by side in the background just behind him. Linus not making the move, but in behind, actually, I think it was Holmbom there, that 18th position in the number 10 machine.
Yeah, so some swaps of position here already, but we're seeing the field split up a little bit into some battle packs here, maybe sometimes 4, 5, 6 cars strong. Of course, that's just due to the varying levels of capability here at these road courses. But everyone's doing a very, very good job of keeping themselves in order at the moment, although I kind of felt like I jinxed it, and in fact I have. Anton Bratberg, the 111, has had an issue coming towards the back end of the lap.
Yeah, that was always a fun one where you see sort of in the background of a shot a car just causing some smoke, but he's got back going rather nicely. And as you're mentioning about the tyres, we're not really expecting anyone to stop for tyres. Here's a replay though, coming down to the penultimate corner. It's pretty fast left-handed King, just goes in way too fast, loses that rear end. Does he go around? No, he doesn't. He manages just to save it enough to, of course, put a bit of heat into those tyres, but at least he hasn't spun around already. But back towards the front, though, here's Gunnarsson in the number 1 machine, of course, reigning champion, coming around turn 6, and he's currently sitting there in 3rd place, but they've lost 4 seconds already in the first 5 laps to Haflidsson, and really 5 seconds to Jesper Eriksson. So that's an average of 1 second per lap, and on a track where you really only have sort of 4 major corners, it's quite an interesting to see a disparity.
Yeah, that's a massive gap, and it lines up with the last lap times. 2 laps ago, Eriksson was in the 110s. Meanwhile, Gunnarsson just about inside the 111s on that last lap. So, yeah, massive rift between Eriksson and Haflidsson and the rest of the fields here. So it feels like, even at this early stage, we can start talking about maybe best of the rest sort of situation here, because Eriksson and Haflidsson are going to run off on their own, and then everyone else has to scrap for the 3rd place, the final step of the podium.
And this is a driver that you've just seen there, Robert Eriksson. He's done a good job there up in P5. We've also seen Aronsson just lose out a couple of places. He's dropped behind Holmer and Fredriksson. I think that was down towards turn 1. They've had a little bit of a scrap as well, but here's back towards Brewster, and he's got Ullman behind him as they come up this back straight, very much uphill, and pretty good for some overtakes, but not this time, in towards this chicane. And definitely a couple of drivers that you expect to see higher up, but maybe not just feeling so confident around this lap. Lap 6 of 71 is going to be, we're expecting fuel to be about 28 laps or so, and we have the stage at lap 30, so that's always an interesting one. The stages are always just longer than a fuel tank, so some drivers, maybe are they going to save for those couple of laps, or are they going to just commit to coming in early and then trying to maybe take a little bit less fuel than others to jump up some track position. So it's basically just going to be a fuel game rather than the tyres today.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. Obviously, with the situation with these cars being relatively bulletproof over the course of the event. So the whole fact that they can change tyres so many times. I mean, they do have a tyre limit in effect here of 5 tyre sets. I mean, it's going to be a non-factor there, but fuel is an interesting issue there, because of course, given that we are fuel limited, they not just in terms of the race, but the fact that they have 70% tanks as well, it can be a little bit leeway in terms of the strategy with that one, but we will just have to wait and see.
Yeah, if it's 28 laps, that means you're going to have to two-stop, whatever happens. But because that last stint would be, that'd be 14 laps, there's basically a half-tank overlap somewhere where you can come in a little bit early, maybe towards lap 20 or so, and effectively undercut some drivers if you want to do something different. But then you've got to be careful, because you don't want to leave yourself having to take a full tank at the end and having no strategy. So it's definitely going to be an interesting little bit of a battle with how you work that out.
Well, with the information that we've been given, these tyres will be happily able to survive up until lap 71. So you're going to potentially forgo the tyres in these stops, just take fuel-only stops, and then we'll see some big variation in terms of stop times then, depending on how much fuel people take.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be one for the strategists to work out. I know some drivers do like it, but some others don't. They want to be having a nice calm race where it's all worked out already. Here are your track conditions, though, 100 Fahrenheit out there, so definitely not the coolest of conditions. About 2:30 in the afternoon. Of course, it's been simulated on the 30th of June, so pretty much the longest day, one of the hottest days of the year. And that makes it just a little bit more difficult for the drivers, but we are obviously being told that isn't really affecting the tyre situation too much with how robust they are. So that's quite a nice one for the drivers, knowing that they can push. But that does in some ways make it a little bit more difficult, because if you're losing out on speed, there's a little bit sort of, yeah, a bit harder for you to get up towards the front.
Yeah, I changed it to metric there because I realised this is a Swedish league. So, yeah, 29 degrees in the air, 38 degrees in terms of track temp, which, with a mostly cloudy sky, that is still a relatively high track temp, is it not?
Oh yeah, I'd say so. It's not absolutely boiling, but as you say, it's pretty cloudy out there. It's pretty dark, pretty grey up in the sky. Maybe that'll just cool down the track ever so slightly. Obviously, that takes a little bit of time, but yeah, it's only interesting condition. But we are in June, so that always helps a little bit. Back to Gunnarsson up towards the front. He's got Blixt following his teammate in behind, but they just don't seem to have anything. Even their other teammate, Haflinson, he's lost them by 5 seconds now up towards the front. So I definitely think, Connery, we've seen a couple of road course specialists here in this league, and with it being the only one road course of the season, we don't necessarily learn what these guys are like. But obviously, Ericsson, actually, he won the Formula Series that we had just before Christmas too, so we know what he's like.
Yeah, we absolutely do. We got Battle further back in the pack, not meant to the top 10 though. Hemblovis as well. And these guys have basically been fighting since the start of the race. They gave us a few side-by-side moments in the opening couple of laps, and it seems like they're back at it again, heading in towards that on-camber final corner, carrying as much speed as you can. The corner will actually help you due to the camber there, so you can carry a bit more speed than you would usually. You just got to be careful with the wall on the outside. There was a look at an opportunity from that very interesting paint schemes number 72 car, and in fact he's going to pop up underneath through turn 1 here to try and take this, and does gain the position quite easily actually. Yeah,
Holmbro just overshooting turn 1, going a bit too wide, went over the curb, and it's not like the old days here at Watkins Glen when you could basically go to the wall on the outside line. You do have basically the edge of the curb, which is really the track limit now for the cuts detection, and unfortunately he was just having to hold it inside that, couldn't just smash it on the throttle and losing some time. As a little bit further up ahead of them, we got Dan Holmer here. He's in behind Fredriksson. They did swap around a little bit earlier. Fredriksson now is on the back of Dan Solo, up in 6th position as it stands. A three-way battle up towards the final couple of corners. This is working out quite nicely. They have dropped Arilton as well. Arilton is in this battle. They can't quite hold the pace just yet.
Yeah, not just yet, and we'll see if that has wider effects on the rest of this race, because otherwise potentially going to be sliding back a little further than where he's at right now. But we're on board with Daniel Holmer, the Bright Esports number 79 car, and bright orange indeed the car is. You see a move going on ahead. That's going to be between Fredriksson, sending it down the inside of Solo at turn 1, and getting the pass done relatively cleanly, and actually Holmer will be able to try and have a bit of an attempt here into the S's.
I think there was a bit of lift and coast going on there in towards turn 1, so maybe a bit of fuel saving, because Solo was so much slower there, and definitely had Holmer doing a little bit of lift. So maybe a few drivers trying to get to that lap 30, where of course we see the stage break, the extra 10 points for the winner, going down to 1 point for 10th position, and those all-important playoff points will come into a factor, of course, at the end of these next 5 rounds. When we get to the playoffs, it's mostly the playoff points that are going to be important. So for the likes of Ericsson, who've already got a race victory, even Dan Holmer, it's just these extra points that are going to be important. So yeah, every point will count. Solo on the back foot a little bit as Holmer gets a run up towards turn number 7. He goes to that inside line, not quite enough to make a move. Let's see down in towards turn 1 if Solo's going to be doing a big lift off again.
Well, it'll be very, very telling. We're just moments away from figuring that one out as we decide to ride on board here with Solo, just having a look at the front end of that 112 behind. There's a slight bit of lifting and coasting there down into the braking zone.
Yeah, not so much. Maybe trying to almost defend from Holmer in that regard. Let's see what run that Bright Esports car is going to get up the hill. He's certainly keeping it within range. It's such a difficult bus stop chicane though, to dive it down the inside from far away. The next braking zone, turn 6, is the one where you want to do it. Holmer there also just backing off a little bit, not choosing to get past as it stands. But I need to be careful that Fredriksson isn't going to get away too much. There's already over half a second, the gap between Fredriksson and Solo for this 6th and 7th position so far. They do have their gap behind, as I mentioned, to Arilton, that they are dropping, so don't need to be looking in the mirrors just yet, but certainly a battle forming here for 7th.
Indeed, and a battle actively happening for 9th as well. Arilton And Wahlin this time around, Wahlin down the inside at the penultimate corner. We'll have to go around the outside at the final corner though, so let's see if he manages this. In fact, he's clear before the apex even arrives there. And Ericsson's going to fall down even further here as we've got Helmbro deciding to try and make the pass out of the corner as well. And will he be clear down in towards turn number 1? He will be.
Can he keep it to the apex? He didn't last time, which is how he lost that gap position to Wahlin. But it was not the best exit. The 24 machine is getting a run as we come up the hill. Unfortunately, you can't really go side by side at this moment. You have to wait until you get to the actual straight section up towards the bus stop. Let's see how that one works itself out. Is there going to be any sort of run? Not quite enough for the 24 machine, just having to back out slightly. But Wahlin's got a huge gap after that little ever so slight mistake there from Helmbro. But that exit of turn 1 is so crucial to get the momentum up the hill.
It really is, and you lose out so much if you don't get that exit absolutely perfect. That's why you see so many people just try and swing out right, try to carry as much momentum possible, because that will benefit you all the way in towards the bus stop. And even though people might not like seeing such an abuse of track limits, it's just the reality to go fast around here. Meanwhile, as we come across the start-finish line, battle for 7th place, Solo and Holmer, 0.2 of a second away from each other still.
Yeah, it looks like the battles are remaining very close, which is what we like. Although, actually this one, I wonder if Wahlin's going to come and try and chase him down if they continue battling. The 79 here getting very close up the hill. The 13 machine is holding that position just now, but Holmer, I should say, is a lot closer than he was last time around when we saw these two almost pushing the Alcantech car up the hill. Gets to that inside line. Is he going to want to go for a dive up the inside of the bus stop? No, just backs out of it, almost pushing each other through as they come through the second, third apex of that one. But the 79 now trying to go wide, trying to get a bit of a different line as he come through the very difficult carousel section onto this back straight. But I think he's just lost that momentum, didn't quite time the overlap correctly.
Didn't quite. I mean, you explained it perfectly there. You have to plan these moves several corners in advance sometimes, and unfortunately, didn't work out that time around. Towards the end of that 15, towards the end of that 14 for these guys. The leader has already crossed the line, and that was not a great exit there from Solo. He's going to be vulnerable here down in towards turn number 1. You can already see Holmer showing the nose.
Certainly up the inside, can he beelines it for the apex, trying to hold that. They go side by side actually, so that's going to slow them down a little bit, and Wahlin really is getting close to them. But up through turn 2 and 3 is going to be Holmer having that position. But what is the momentum like? The red machine is closing them down. Does he have enough momentum to get them in towards the bus stop? He's got so much overspeed. Look at this from Oliver Wahlin. The 72 machine to the outside line he goes. Holmer sort of squares him in there, boxes him in there. Can he get past Solo though at least? Yeah, there's one position. Just showing you how the battles are so important around here. Onto that back straight. Holmer goes through Wahlin as well. Solo losing 2 places.
I was afraid Wahlin was going to get boxed in a little bit too much there as he was quickly approaching the back of Holmer. It ends up working out though. +1 position gains due to the fact that, well, the two ahead of him were fighting in towards the S's section, and that's the dividends sort of paid out for that number 72 car. Was firmly, snugly establishing himself in the middle of these two now. While that was all happening, by the way, we did have a little bit of a moment between Fredriksson and Ericsson for P5 here. The 112, Fredriksson currently in that 5th place over Ericsson at the moment. In fact, has extended the gap by a bit of a margin since they last fought.
Yeah, looking pretty good for some of these drivers. It's funny how over the stint, even though we're not expecting any sort of tyre drop, we are seeing a couple of drivers drop down and some others speed up. So yeah, interesting to see there. A bit of a swap around, and look at these three in the background as well, chasing them down. I definitely am interested to see how fast Holmer can go in this race, because realistically he's only 3 seconds off P5, and especially for the championship protagonists, when we get towards that lap 30 and the stage break, an extra couple of points for the playoffs will be very handy indeed. So he needs to be trying to chase that one down. But as we were saying, we expected fuel tanks to be about 28 laps give or take, and it's a very long lap around here compared to a normal oval. So if you want to save fuel, that's a lot more that you need to save to get those extra couple laps. And also, you've actually got to go to lap 31 realistically, because you have to finish lap 30 and then come around again. So it's really 3 laps of fuel that you need to save.
Yeah, not the easiest feat to be able to do. So we'll have to see who can push it out the longest if the situation does call for it. But like you said, you know, there might be some variation in terms of the strategy here due to the fact that the tyres are lasting so long. Some might try to split the race, you know, in equal sections. Some might try and push every stint as long as possible and then just get a short stint at the end. Still unanswered questions about which one's going to be the best at the moment.
Yeah, I think we'll have to also see how the sort of track position is when we get to sort of lap 20, lap 25, to see if anyone wants to come in a little bit early. But the thing is, especially for like Jesper Eriksson, he's so far ahead of the sort of the mid-pack as such. He actually has quite a big gap, almost to drop back into. Not exactly sure what the time is to go through the pit lane here. But certainly he might actually be a little bit lucky with that, just with how it spreads out. Normally in an oval race, you know, 20 seconds is the whole field in one lap. Whereas here, obviously, because of the disparity, it's just a lot longer. But Eriksson still leading the way by 6 seconds, 15 back to Gunnarsson in 3rd place as well. He's looking very, very good, but there's certainly loads of battles in behind. This is the one that's raging at the moment. Holmer in 7th, Wahlin in 8th place. There's a car off there on the exit of turn 1. Is that someone who's gone into the wall? Yeah, Robert Eriksson from 6th position. He's had a massive issue at turn 1. He's lost 4 places.
Yeah, that is completely unexpected. I think it didn't quite show up as anything on my timing screen, but it looks like he's all on his own lonesome there into the heavy braking zone at turn 1. Has he just outbroke himself? I think he has. You know, carrying way too much speed. Misses brake, but actually hits the barrier on the outside as well. That's a really weird error.
He must have completely missed the braking board, because normally if you make a mistake as such, you may miss it by, you know, 10-15 meters, but that was 50 meters too late into that corner. Even with a bit of a lockup, we've seen multiple drivers, especially the one behind him, Peter Helmbo, he's locked out many times but still actually made the corner. So I think maybe just misreading the brake numbers, the brake marker board numbers coming in towards turn 1 there. And talking of Helmbo, of course, right up behind him, he's now straight into a battle after making that mistake. Still inside the top 10 though, so we'll get some playoff points if he can keep himself there.
Yeah, and it was a decent nudge with that front end into the wall as well. So he's hoping he doesn't have significant damage. Looking at it visually, it doesn't look too bad here for the moment. But there's the dive down the inside from the 77. A bit of a shoulder through the middle of the corner as well. Elbro getting the elbows out, but the elbows gain him a position.
Rubbin's racing, and that gains him an extra playoff point up into 9th place. Certainly an aggressive move there by taking the opportunity that he needed while Eriksson is still on the back foot trying to get that momentum going. Wahlin, though, gets past Holmer up in towards the bus stop and easily past actually by the time they get there. So Holmer choosing, I think, not to battle that, or he had a terrible exit out of turn 1 which lost him so much momentum. Either way, Wahlin is looking very strong at this sort of middle part of this first stint.
Yeah, he's really come into his own here at the moment. It's very to see what these clear air lap times are and how they compare to the top couple of drivers. I'm not expecting them to within a second, because the top 2 have been putting a decent amount of time on the rest of the field here at the moment. But we'll definitely see how competitive he really is once he gets a couple of laps under his belt here, and we'll be able to conjecture whether or not he'll be able to catch the guys in P4, P5, the likes of Mix and Fredriksson.
And as we mentioned the whole day about the tyre situation, because the tyres aren't wearing as such, as the fuel load goes down, you have the potential to go faster because you have less weight in the car. And Linus Brewster was telling us on Monday they had a test race, and some drivers were even doing their fastest lap on the final lap of the race. So it's certainly possible that your pace can actually just improve over the stint, and Wahlin is doing a really good job. In fact, his last lap was a 1:11.8. His fastest lap is a 1:11.6. So only 2/10 of his fastest lap, and including that overtake. So he's looking very, very good at this moment in time. His issue is that the gaps are somewhat big to some of the cars ahead. I guess he really can look at Fredriksson, just 3 seconds ahead, but then it starts to get a little bit more difficult if he wants to get there, especially by the end of the playoff, the stage break, the playoff points, which is at the end of lap 30. Yeah,
well, he's, that last time by, 2.5 tenths of a second, 3.5 tenths of a second. That's what he gained on that last lap with that overtake, and we'll see what the change is as they head their way across the line now as well. It's 1:11.959 from Fredericton and 1:11.993 for Wahlin. So a marginal loss on that last lap, only by a couple of hundredths of a second or so. But certainly on the pace here of the front, or at least the bottom end of the top 5.
Yeah, the pace is looking pretty consistent. The only driver who's really standing out is, of course, Jesper Eriksson up towards the front, about half a second quicker than anyone else on that last lap. But everyone is sort of low 12s, high 11s, that sort of pace. So it's looking, pretty consistent, which is what we like to see because that keeps the battles going further on. Talking of battle, he's a little bit further down. I haven't sort of looked back this far for a while, but actually that's a bit of an issue there for Allard. But Salander in that green machine is there in 16th place, and he's got a whole queue of drivers coming up. We've got Allard, we've got Lundberg, got Holmbaum as well, but that was a bit of a terrible mistake there from Lundberg. He's really lost the momentum coming through the bus stop. I have to really look in his mirrors as we come through the carousel section, but I think he's just about holding on. But someone who might not be able to hold on is Salander there. He's really been pushed by Allard, but actually in the end looks like Allard not keeping that momentum going.
Yeah, battle behind as well, Lundberg and Holmbaum, as we see the move being made once again. Allard down the inside here. Will become the outside for the final corner, though not necessarily the place you want to be. Slander's able to defend that for the moment. Differing lines coming off the corner might result in differing speeds down the straight as well, which might result in then a side-by-side in towards the first corner, which we might get as Allard again sends it down, and then the car was pretty unsettled under heavy braking there. That's how much he tried to commit to that, but didn't get anything out of it.
It's so funny when they go on the brakes and they start turning in so early because they're like, no, I'm going to close you off, no, I'm going to go for it. It's quite funny seeing the body language as they try and battle their way through. But once again, they slowed themselves down, so Lundberg had got a little bit of a run. I don't think it's quite what we saw from Wahlin a few laps ago, making an overtake, but certainly closing that gap back in a little bit. It did, just spread out. Lundberg, once again, a little bit unconfident there, I think, going into the bus stop, a funny line, and just chunking the curbs a little bit too much as the car in behind there just almost pushing him through. Cedric Holmbaum in the number 10 machine. So Lundberg maybe not quite feeling it at this moment in time, but I think Allard is. He's looking very racy on the back of the 140.
Yeah, it really is. Really maximising the exit of the carousel there, and trying to size up the move into the penultimate corner, but that one is a relatively risky one. He might be better off just waiting for turn 1 or waiting to try and get that run through the S's and then in towards the bus stop. But a little bit of a slide coming out the corner there. It's not going to necessarily help the tyres, at least temporarily, but you can now see sizing up the move down the inside again. Another shallow entry from the 302. I think you'd be better off not doing that and looking for the run instead.
Yeah, I agree. If you can't make the move in turn 1, you then don't want to hinder yourself coming up the hill. Look at this 3-4 car lengths that he's lost just by having such a tight line in towards turn 1. Isn't able to get on the power, isn't able to keep that momentum going. And because it's flat out the whole way, it's very, very important. But actually, the 10 machine might have the run. Actually, no, he's just slowing down a little bit, maybe just lifting off, not trying to get involved with that one as Holmbaum just has to hold on to this 19th position. But it's great to see these battles even further down. Might not be for a race victory or some playoff points as it stands, but still very entertaining nonetheless.
It really is, even though, like you said, the battles at the very front of the field have somewhat fizzled out. There's a close run thing between P3 and P4 at the moment. Gunnarson and Blix within half a second of each other, and then we have a bit of a train just inside the top 10 as well. But it's good to give a little bit of love to these guys a little bit further back as well. It's a little bit of a weird line there from Lundberg. That's not exactly ideal. Actually, Allard, that's what, as we see Allard coming down in towards the pit lane. So first one to decide to come down and in, and is currently the only one.
I reckon this is going to sort of be an opening of the floodgates over the next 5 laps or so. There's probably going to be a lot of drivers coming in, but certainly one of the first ones indeed. So this is almost a strategy of splitting the race pretty much in 3 sections. We are expecting 2 stops for all, well, we have to expect 2 stops for all drivers to get to the end on the fuel tanks. 2 tanks is not enough for the 71 laps. Well, there is Allard, only in the pit box for 12 seconds. So yeah, not the longest in the world, but obviously that's still pretty much a full tank or so as he comes back out. Lap 30 is of course the stage, and we continue under green flag racing as well. So I'm expecting pretty much everyone, because it's one of the things, if everyone pits, then it makes no reason to stay out as such. But if someone wants to try and stay out, then that's where you're going to get the game.
That is, as we look a bit further forward actually from that battle, as we see Holmerin and Tier 12 and 13 in terms of their position. Get very, very close. So within half a second between these two, it's all a bit of a sort of situation where where do you want to be for that that stage changeover, shall we say? It's a lot of sort of strategizing here at the moment. We saw the early stop, of course, and from Allard, who's now down in P29, so it's cycled all the way towards the very back of the field due to that. But we'll have to see if anyone comes down in on this next lap now, because they might have seen, okay, Allard's gone. Do I want to go as well? Well, the front runners decide not to at the moment. Neither does Gunnarsson or Blix. They stay out as well. No stop for these guys even further back as well. Wallin deciding that he doesn't want to take it either. I'm not seeing many tempted.
Oh, yeah, how long are they going to stay out? It's, that's a huge moment there for Kenneth Tier. Completely misses the corner there, so unfortunately that is going to slow down his battle. Holmerin is let off the hook there a little bit. I hope there wasn't contact that sent him off there, but that certainly was quite wide.
Yeah, it really, really was, and we can try and get ourselves another little look at it. Here's the situation. They were very close in towards the bus stop there. Is this a bit of an over-eager Tier on the brakes in towards the penultimate corner? We'll have to wait and see. And yeah, it's very, very over-eager. Locks up that inside left, it lost out the inside front tyre, and thankfully no one else collected in it.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, that was quite a moment. Unfortunately, he didn't take out another car because sometimes in those situations you can't really avoid the other vehicles. But we are seeing some other drivers. That Lundberg maybe coming into the pit lane. Yeah, the 18 machine. He has a 13.5 second stop, so a little bit longer. But of course, he stayed out another lap. So also the way it works with this is even though you don't have 3 full tanks, you might as well start the race with a full tank, even if you don't do the full stint, because otherwise it's just more time that you need to be stopped. But he has got a lap down there. Peter Helmbro comes in as well, so I think we're going to see pretty much all the drivers come in just shy of that lap 30.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the agreement that they have. Just a trickle of drivers at the moment. I have to wonder if we'll get any more significant action on pit road with more cars coming down in at the same time. It's just a matter of exactly when. Of course, they want to be able to utilise this stint as much as they can, as that's dealing with a bit of lap traffic there. I thought we were able to fight at the very front of the field there, but no, lap traffic already a thing, mostly because we have had drivers come down in it.
Absolutely, and I do expect, Jesper Eriksson in the pit lane. Yeah, I expect some of these leaders to come in. Remember, the end of lap 30 is the stage, so that is pretty much the time that they all want to be back in their positions. We're getting Haflidsson also in the background come in, Gunnarsson, but the longer they stay out now, the shorter their stops are going to be later in the race. So it is a bit of a bit of a judgment. Is anyone going to try and stay out to the end of lap 30? So you need to get to the end of lap 31 by the time you come into the pit lane. It's going to be a stretch, an extra 3 laps or so. But I'm sure some of the drivers have been trying it. But it's always difficult because saving fuel, you lose a bit of time. So you've got to make sure that you do that. A lot of drivers, though, in Fredriksson, Wallin, Aroldsson, loads, deciding that this is the time to make the pit stop.
Yeah, all taking currently relatively full tanks. So that is 13.4 for Haflidsson. Anyone else deviating from that? Tyres being taken by Wallin there, at least on the right-hand side of the car, as he gets off and away. You would have thought with a bunch of left turns you want to take the left side, unless he took both, unless he took all 4.
Interesting change in tyres. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all, but surely it's going to be left side if it's here, because they're almost all right-handers. And I don't see the reason to change just the rears, because the front left will be most important as well. So interesting. We're also seeing some more cars there in the background changing their tyres. So definitely some change of the strategy from some of these drivers.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case, because those that are taking fuel only have only gone, 13.5 on their stops. Those that are taking tyres, an extra 1.5 seconds usually. They're up 14.5, 14.6 sort of area. So compared to just taking fuel, it looks like the tyres are just an extra second or second and a half or so, at least with the fuel that we've been putting in at the moment. You know, are you going to get 1.5 seconds over a stint of improvement from fresh tyres, even though you already know that the tyres don't really go off?
Yeah, to be honest, if it is only 1.5 for just one-sided tyres, then maybe that, maybe that might work out quite nicely. We're on to lap 29, so all of these drivers just shy, a couple of laps shy of making it to the stage, unfortunately. But as I said, it's not a stage break as such. We continue green flag racing, so that's why these guys are all coming in now, because we're not going to have a caution later on. So it's very, very important. Eric Blix, though, has the lead by some 13 seconds from Jesper Eriksson, as it's worked out after the stop. So interesting, that one. Slightly different strategic options, and now we're on to lap 30. And at the end of this, he'll be getting himself an extra 10 points as long as he holds a 13-second gap to Eriksson. So this might be a strategy blinder. But also Solar, he's jumped up into 3rd place, so he's also potentially done the same as his teammate.
Yeah, he stayed out as well. So we'll have to see, can Blix make it? Well, he has to. He doesn't really have a choice. He has to make it to the end of that 30. Hopefully, he might have planned, okay, can I get to the start-finish line through the pit lane and still be ahead of Eriksson, which might still count?
I hadn't actually considered that, but obviously before, we've never seen gaps big enough to warrant that. But that'd be an interesting strategy if the Alcantech driver wants to try that. Blix, of course, started the season with a race victory and has gone on to get another. But what is he going to do here at Watkins Glen? He comes around the final corner, the end of lap 30 is the stage that is coming his way. He's going to be an extra 10 playoff points for the Alcantech driver. The 95 machine comes across the line to take the stage victory. And of course, it'll be Eriksson in 2nd place, getting those extra 9 points, but by 12 seconds. So a strategy masterclass there from the 95 to take that extra point away from his championship rival. Dan Solo as well in the 13 machine. He jumps up about 3 places in the standings. Oh no, he couldn't quite make it on the fuel, so he's going to drop down. Who's going to come past him though? He might have the gap, because the gaps are so big, he might be able to get out and still stay inside the top 10.
Yeah, might just be able to. Who's in 10th at the moment? Well, it's Helmbro. Silander actually come down in because he stayed out as well, so it's Eriksson that's the benchmark here at the moment to see if Solo can come out ahead in this situation. Solo just getting himself stopped in his pit box. There he is, waiting for that fuel to go in. No tyres being taken here from Solo. That's the call that he's made, and well, there has been a sort of split strategy with regards to that in this one. But there is Eriksson heading his way across the line now, and Solo has indeed dropped in behind at the start-finish line, I believe. But we'll have to make sure the admins have checked that potentially.
Yeah, I guess it depends exactly where his box is and where the start-finish line is. Couldn't quite see. The start-finish line is actually quite far down the front straight here, but certainly interesting one as Blix comes in at the end of lap 31 as we were expecting. And it was certainly a bit risky for 1 extra point, but at least he's got it, as Jesper Eriksson retakes the lead here at the AMRT Grand Prix, and it's looking very good for the 37 machine. He's going to have a very big lead when we get to it, and it's looking certainly very nice. But I definitely like these strategies that we're seeing over the course of the season. The team's really trying some things, but we still need 1 final pit stop to get to the end. If we're looking about 30 laps, a stint saving, there's still going to be another 11 to go at the end.
Yep, that's just the situation, but it's good to see the spread in terms of the strategy calls. Of course, some drivers being able to save that fuel to try and get the track position for the stage and then hop down in once they firmed in that position as far as the stages are concerned. But whether or not that'll be a good strategy for the race in its entirety, you know, in terms of the overall position at the end of the race, that still remains to be seen. So yeah, intriguing, very intriguing so far here at Watkins Glen. But one thing that is not uncertain is Eriksson's lead at the moment. It's 11 seconds over Michael Hefflinson at the moment, and it's only growing.
Eriksson looking very good. But actually, I was just checking my maths. So it wasn't actually 1 point, obviously. It was an extra 3 points, wasn't it, from Blix, because he was actually down in 4th place. It got him and Hefflinson mixed up. So yeah, Blix was in 4th and then jumped up to 1st by staying out to get those extra points. yeah, very, very nice indeed. So instead of 7, he got 10 points, and they could be crucial. And that is one thing that actually Ericsson has, or was lacking a little bit earlier in the season. He's jumped it up now, but Blixt has 74 bonus points, whereas Ericsson has 96. So yeah, 22 is the difference. Obviously now that goes down to 19. So actually that was a potentially an important move by the time we get to the playoffs. But still plenty of racing to go before then. But Blixt showing you why he's one of the championship contenders. There's the 101 of Håkan Schott just getting out of the way as he goes a lap down to Blixt.
Yeah, lap traffic going to be a constant feature now for the rest of this race, I get the feeling. But this might be, pending any issues, this might be as high as Eric Blixt goes in this race, because he's got 14.6 seconds to try and, is the gap that he has to try and catch to make sure he's on the back of the number 81 ahead. And that is a very, very optimistic margin to try and catch in. It's not outside the realms of possibility, of course, but it's going to be very difficult under normal circumstances, I would say. But Haflidsson doesn't seem to have been putting the foot wrong so far in this event. He's been doing rather well.
Yes, there is Haflidsson on the old webcam, and nice to see some of the drivers getting involved with the Zoom call with that in the 81 machine, I should say, for Alcantech. Looking very nice, actually, because while it might be 11 seconds off Ericsson, he's more than that. He's 14 seconds ahead of his two teammates, Blixt and Gunnarsson. So looking very nice. And he's one of those other drivers as well who obviously is one of the champions in our road course series back, not last season, but the one before in the LMP2s. So him and Ericsson, the two recent champions in the road course series that we do here at Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. And to be honest, they're just showing why they're more of the road course specialists in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with Ericsson's performance over the course of this season so far, it doesn't matter whether it's an oval or a road course. It seems like he's so strong, and looking up to pick up what would be his 5th race win of the season if all goes well, and extending his advantage over Eric Blixt in 2nd place. But Haflidsson, of course, has kept himself up there, kept himself in contention, and we'll have to see how things go a little bit later on as we tick these rounds away, to see if he keeps himself in that sort of championship title fight.
Yes, it's funny how these things swing and go around over the course of a season. Because, for instance, Dan Holmer, he wasn't doing so well in the first sort of 5 rounds. Actually, I think he did get 1 podium actually, but it wasn't necessarily. I wouldn't have said he was a championship contender. But then all of a sudden, he gets 2 victories and now puts himself 3rd place in the standings, because Blixt also has 2 wins, but he has more points, so he's ahead. So all of a sudden, he's now confirmed into playoff and looking very, very good. So yeah, it can change around very quickly. And same for Oscar Fredriksson that we were saying there in 5th place, and also Gunnarsson as well. They haven't got victories this season, but we know, as you can see here, they're fast drivers. So if they can somehow sneak their way up there, I think they're going to be looking, very, very good. For that later on. A look at those conditions though, it's gone up by a couple of, even more. It's now 41 degrees on the track by 3 centigrade. It's gone up over the course of the race, and it has got a little bit more sunny out there, but it does seem like the tyres are holding on pretty well.
I mean, it's going to make the race a little bit slower with those higher temperatures, but I don't think it's necessarily going to change the situation that we have here with the life of the rubber. But it's definitely uncomfortable when you start seeing temperatures creep up into the 40s degrees Celsius. I guess the drivers are very thankful at the moment that we're mostly cloudy rather than clear. Otherwise, that track temp would be more like 50 something with that air temp.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fun one actually. It's not necessarily something it's not something that you see, but the fact that we have all those weather conditions really adds just that little bit of extra dynamic over the course of the race, and something else for the drivers to think about. We come to this battle though that we were mentioning a little bit earlier. Wahlin closing down Fredriksson, and he's finally there. Wahlin was low down in the top 10. He's got himself up into 6th place. He had about a 3-4 second gap. He's closed that down to Fredriksson, and realistically, he's only 4 seconds off Eric Blixt, who's just come into that final corner. So Wahlin is actually looking at a podium with the pace that he's got and how he's moving up the field.
Yeah, it's very impressive stuff at the moment. It's been great to see It's, we always thought, even when he got past, the drivers behind, that maybe top 5 is actually possible here, and Bohlin is indeed proving us right here at the moment. Hasn't quite got there just yet, but plenty of time still left in this race to be able to get up in the faces of both Fredriksson and Gunnarsson, not outside the realms of possibility. Maybe even, like I said, getting up in towards that podium area with Blixt, because he's not too many seconds down the road, and how much Bohlin has caught up already, I would be a bit concerned.
Absolutely. I've been looking in the mirrors and getting a little bit tense at this point in the race, and especially when you can see the cars ahead as well. Bohlin is thinking about that. He's trying to work his way up, and he's going to be sending it probably trying to get past Fredriksson at this point in the race. There is the position gain. Of course, Fredriksson also on +4, but he's been there for a little bit longer. Bohlin was a bit slower to get those positions in the beginning. Obviously, top 2 staying the same from their front row positions. Interesting to see, it was actually Araldson there. I forgot about him the last couple of laps. He's down to 11th place. He's lost quite a few positions. Just struggling a little bit compared to his ability that you expect. But let's see what Bohlin can do. He's normally very strong through this turn 1, but obviously not on this lap, but maybe just closing in another couple of tenths.
Yeah, he's just sizing up for that move, isn't he? He's going to be comfortably inside the slipstream there. Fredriksson the car getting nervous through that first apex at the S's there, which is not going to help the conservation of momentum coming towards the top of the hill here. So a little bit more lost time from Fredriksson. Now 0.4 of a second between the two of them as they head their way in towards the bus stop, and it's actually both of them caught Gunnarsson by about 0.5 of a second on that last lap as well. So we might, we are currently actually seeing a 3-car situation for P4, because Gunnarsson, I don't know whether it was just a scruffy couple of laps or not, but he's dropped back into the clutches of these two now.
Yes, it's turning into a great 3-way battle here. Gunnarsson, the number 1 machine, the reigning champion, is under attack from the 112 with Fredriksson, and then Bohlin pushing themselves through. We're over halfway through the race, and of course still a pit stop to go, but the positions on track are still very important at this stage of the race. The 112 closes it down the gap as you get towards turn 1 for another time of asking. And what is the exit going to be like? It's fairly decent, actually a bit of a slide down. Unfortunately on the exit, Fredriksson just losing a little bit of momentum. He was closing in just a bit on the number 1 machine, but now just can't quite get the speed that he wanted up the hill. Bohlin, as I said, generally very good, but once more not quite close enough this time around as he's sliding his way out onto the back straight.
Yeah, these cars looking pretty nervous at this stage, you have to say. Drivers really trying to push, and they are 100% pushing, unless they have a fuel concern. They really are pushing at this stage, because they can lean on those tyres so much despite the conditions, despite the usual knowledge of how iRacing tyres work in the sim here, where you don't want to push them too much because they overheat. It seems like that's a completely different situation here today in these cars, but you can see Fredriksson just leaning on the back of Gunnarsson all the way through these corners, making himself look very big and imposing, and might have an opportunity to win.
Might do. Can he get the run? Not quite close enough. So the number 1 machine has been able to settle that down, but look at the 112 getting close. Can he get the exit this time? Certainly a bit more confident there on the brakes, but the 1 machine seems to get slightly better exits as we come up the hill through turn 2, 3, 4 and on to the back straight. This is where the slipstream comes into effect, where you can see the cars moving all over the place. It's not the same as GT cars. You really have to work for it through that sequence of corners, and unfortunately not quite close enough for Fredriksson there. But also with this battle, they're losing out to Blixt. Huge send there on the brakes once more from the 112. But needs to be careful not to chunk those curbs too much and lose out entirely.
Yeah, aggressively, a very aggressive, sharp entry there from Fredriksson as well. I didn't quite respond in the way you thought it was, I think. It might have turned in just that little bit too late and had to unwind the steering a little bit, but you can see now he has pressure from behind, because Watkins is not keeping himself out of this. He wants to get his nose in and disrupt this somewhat. A bit of that traffic ahead of these guys, which might be a concern unless it gets out of the way coming down the pit straights here. We'll just have to keep an eye on this one, but these three getting closer and closer and closer together. Lap traffic not out of the way just yet, and if it beats them through the S's, we might have a problem.
or the one machine there slightly wide off the apex. Is getting very tense in this battle. Lap 41, we come up the hill. Is the one machine actually going to benefit from a slipstream maybe coming through the very fast corners up through the S's, or is he actually going to be hindered now? We're about to find out. We've got Bohlin, we've got Fredriksson trying to get the run down this back straight. We go 3 wide as we come past the lap traffic. Bohlin trying to decide if he's going to back out of that one. No, he manages to get through as well. Somehow they stay in the same order, but that was actually a very awkward situation as the lap car had to go over the bus stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering whether or not the lapped car was going to cause an issue, and in fact it did. It really did. But these guys are able to recover that very nicely indeed, and make it in the end not really that big of an issue. But we'll take a look at how it happens, because this is not where you want lap traffic to be necessarily. No, not what you want. It's such a fast chicane as well. It's not like like at Spa-Francorchamps or something, where, you know, even at Les Combes you're still braking quite a lot. Here you're really just sort of going down a gear maybe and sending it over those curbs. It's more of a kink. It's really a different style to some slower ones, so it's very sketchy when you get to the traffic involved. We come up once again though. The laps go around very quickly, just about a 1:11, 1:12 minutes per lap here. Innocent holding on as he does lose out some time in those braking zones once more. Fredriksson getting very close. He seems a lot more confident at that part of the track, but Fredriksson is in a difficult situation. He's attacking, but he's also got Oliver Wahlin up the inside of him through the carousel. They're trying to go side by side. This is going to let Gunnarsson off the hook for another corner or so. Wahlin keeps inside the track limits. Fredriksson using all that he can to try and defend, and he holds on for now. Yeah, absolutely. Gunnarsson hatching a break there. Wahlin applying the pressure. A bit of a slide from Fredriksson through the outside of the penultimate corner. And again through the middle and the exit. Car moving about a lot from that 112. Wahlin might be smelling blood in the water here. Not going to be close enough for an opportunity in towards turn 1. However, in prime position to make this happen in towards the bus stop if he gets the exit and if he can keep the slipstream. Yeah, that's the important factor for now, but we do have, there's another lapped traffic car just up ahead. Are they going to get involved this time around? It wasn't so much of an issue. Things on the Team Superior cars giving a bit of a run. But actually, Wahlin, look how close he is, coming up towards the braking zone, doesn't go for a gap just yet. You can really see how they just flick it to that right-hand side. They don't slow down so much. It's very awkward. And then as we come down through this massively downhill section, Wahlin very fast once more into the entry, but actually is that hindering him onto this back straight. Certainly hasn't been able to get past it just yet. As Gunnarsson gets past the lap traffic, up the inside is going to have to be for Fredriksson, and also Wahlin trying to follow him through. That's tighter line than they would have wanted. I think that's Bradberg, the 111 machine, has come in towards the final corner, but no, not enough. It's very difficult at this part of the track. Very difficult indeed, and it's enthralling viewing between these two, because you're just sort of out on the edge of your seat going, okay, when is this going to happen and where? Because it's been teased so many times, but the position swap still hasn't happened. It's been, Fredriksson's been very good defensively so far, and in fact we'll have to do it again and towards the back straight here because of a little bit of an error through turn 1. Drops off the back of Fredriksson by about 6.5 tenths of a second now, and Wahlin, well, he's going to have another opportunity, but doesn't quite get the run, I don't think. No, not this time either. So it's funny how this has stayed a little bit stable for a bit longer than I was expecting. Maybe not though, up the inside, sending it over the curbs on the complete wrong side of the curbs, getting very close as we come down the hill, and seemingly that's the place where he thinks he can make the overtake and not in the normal places. Into the bus stop or into this next left-handed corner at turn number 7. Crazy stuff. It's so on the limit at this track. A bit of a slide as he come through the apex there. Bradberg completely goes off the track as well. It's really on the limit racing, and as we're saying, because you can push the tyres so much, you're really just doing qualifying lap after qualifying lap. We'll have to fit in an ad here at some point, but we don't really want to go away from this particular battle, because it really is on the edge of changing every single moment, and both of them actually have caught back up to Gunnarsson at the moment. So it seems like Gunnarsson's near air pace is not quite there, And it's really going to be a sitting duck for Fredriksson and Bohlin if they're able to get a run through the top of the S's section here. And, well, Fredriksson doing well at it so far, but again, just not quite enough. Needs that extra tenth of a second or so in towards the bus stop to make the overlap happen.
Yeah, they've lost another 3 seconds there to Eric Blixt, who has had a stable gap to Haflidsson up ahead. But these three, they're definitely, I think, the pace is sort of the reverse order of this. If they were to spin around, Wahlin would probably pull away just a little bit, but you've got to find your way through. They've got some more lap traffic up ahead, and the lap traffic comes around pretty fast here because some of the lap traffic are, towards a second, 2 seconds a lap slower, which is quite a lot around a track like this in terms of the momentum that you carry onto the straight. Oh, that is a little bit awkward. I think as Uthinen coming into the pit lane, or actually not just coming into the right-hand side to let them pass in towards turn 1. It is going to be for another time of asking. They do have that bit of lap traffic up ahead. Are they going to get involved this time around? That's going to be very close indeed. Oh, there's a huge bit of a slide there. This might be the run that Wahlin needed. As we come up the hill, we've got lap traffic up ahead. We've got the overspeed and the momentum. Is Wahlin just have to lift off the throttle? He might do. He's always getting a bit too close through the S's section. And as we come up the hill once more, unfortunately, he's just lost out on that momentum that we thought he had. Up in towards the bus stop, though. Is that going to be close enough? No, I don't think this is going to turn around just yet, unless there is a magical mistake between some of these drivers. So yes, a bit of a difficult one for them to get past.
Yeah, we can't really take our eyes off of this one. It was a bit of an error, a bit of an overcommitment there from Fredriksson in towards the carousel. Risked washing up through the middle of the corner. He kept towards the inside though, but it did result in Wahlin getting relatively close on towards the bumper. I think we're going to chance it here with the ad as our contractual obligation, but we will keep the battle on screen here if you agree, Cam.
Absolutely. I think we should go a bit of race spot side by side. We'll try and keep up with what's going on, but yeah, we'll take a couple of minutes break from the race and hear some messages from our partners.
platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mobi hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Hos Prix eSports och Västerås kan du testa på både NASCAR och olika formulabilar, precis som Svenska Eracingligan deltagare. Gå in på brightesports.com och boka just din.
And you rejoin us here at Watkins Glen for the AMRT Grand Prix. And of course, it is always the way that the 112 machine has a bit of a spin there coming through turn one. And unfortunately, just drops off that battle. So Gunnarsson and Wahlin are let off for now. Let's see a replay of this, how it happens. He's in the middle of the three-car train that we've been seeing for quite a while. He gets very close, just chunks the curb on the inside, though, a little bit too much. Wahlin manages to escape danger. And then it was a very awkward situation to reverse. He did go onto just about the racing line, but hopefully it's not too bad. Wahlin, also lost some seconds in this time. I think this is coming up the hill on the same lap. Oh, he also chunks the curb too much on the inside there. Does he avoid contact with anyone with the wall? I think he has, but there is a homer going through. And actually, is that Wahlin out of the race? It might just be.
Yeah, he turned it back towards pit lane. Not exactly sure why. Just going to check whether he has a meatball flag or not. Yeah, he did. He had a meatball flag from that.
Oh my God, it was a big bump. Must have absolutely clattered the suspension and maybe just dropping one of the corners on the car. Such a shame for Oliver Wahlin there, who's doing an amazing job this race. Really working their way up through the top 10 nicely, and then in that battle, potentially the podium on the cards, and yes, sent it over. I mean, this is not the biggest crash we've seen in the world, but it must have been enough to break the suspension or something like that in one of the corners.
Yeah, absolutely. Must have caught a wheel on a curb somewhere awkwardly, and then you know, the iRacing system saying, you know, you've got some form of suspension or wheel damage, you have to come down in and get repaired. And that's it, end of the race. Such a massive shame from Wahlin. He was looking so good throughout the entirety of the race so far, but then to have it end like that with a solo car incident, a spin across the bus stop, and potentially hitting a curb or a divot awkwardly with one of the corners of the car and causing terminal damage, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, big shame for Wahlin there, and yeah, just going to have to come back for the next race and try once more. But what a shame that is going to be. And of course, because they towed, they might be able to get back out, but they're going to be so far down that yeah, any sort of significant points is not going to be on the cards. But still 21 laps remaining. Ericsson leads by 16 seconds, another 15 back to Eric Blixt, and then another 9 seconds back to Gunnarsson. So pretty spread out towards the front, that they have just been setting such consistently fast pace, but it's in behind where all the battles have been. We now focus on Robert Eriksson in the 35. He was up in, I think, 5th place at highest, dropped down to 6th for quite a while, then made a mistake, hit the wall on the outside of turn 1 as he went in too fast. And he's now chasing down Peter Helmbro in the number 77 machine, and they're just a few seconds behind Solo 2.
Yeah, as well. So this is the well, the point of the circuit where you want to be looking at the moment with these final 20 laps to run, because the leaders have spread themselves out, as Ericsson has a 16.7 second advantage over Haflidsson, and Haflidsson has a similar sort of advantage over Blixt as well. So it seems like the top 3 are kind of set here at the moment. So the only changes that we'll be seeing is sort of just inside of the top 10 here, potentially a little bit further back as well, as we see Bratberg decide to head his way in for his second and final stop of the race, presumably.
Yes, all cars do need to make another stop, and maybe this is the first of many. We're expecting a lot of the cars to go nearer lap 60, but still 20 laps to go. Bit of a change of tyres, at least on that left side for the 111 machine. He has had a few issues today, unfortunately. Is a little bit further down than he would have wanted, but certainly not a terrible situation. 24th place as it stands for the 111. Here's Peter Helmbro, and he's got Solo just a little bit further ahead going through the bus stop, and in behind is that Superior's car of Ericsson there as he chases him down. They do have a little bit of lap traffic up ahead, and we've seen the potential for that to cause some issues. I think that's Lundberg in 17th place.
It has indeed caused issues, but you know, have they learned of the 52 laps that we have to run to try and, you know, make sure you get through there unscathed. We'll just have to see if there are any issues towards the end of this race here, because you might get the situation where you might be on an on-track in somewhat of an on-track battle here towards the end, and you wanted to try and push and make up that time, and as soon as you overstep the bounds, you can have a rather big accident here at Watkins Glen. But you'll see another driver on towards pit lane. Fredriksson in the 112 decides that now is a good time to get into.
Fredriksson comes into the pit lane for the final stop of him of the race, hopefully. And slightly misses the box. Oh no, this is too many seconds that he would have wanted to lose, unfortunately, for a driver that's battling for some top positions. Those few seconds might be very, very important. It was definitely a bit of a shorter stop there, but he lost an extra few seconds. See, yeah, it was 9 seconds, but I'm pretty sure it'll be a little bit more like a normal pit stop, unfortunately, because missing the pit box is easy to do.
Yeah, it really is easy to do, and the thing is, he had 5 seconds. Well, compared to a full tyre, full fuel stop, he was 5 seconds faster. But he ends up only being 1 second faster on lane time because of those little problems. Yes, it's one of those things that adds up more than you would. Yeah, it feels like forever, and sometimes it isn't that long, but it does add up a little bit more than you would have wanted sometimes. So comes back out, but it's definitely pit stop time as you're getting into the lap 50s in the race. Lap 53 currently for the leader Jesper Eriksson. Here's Peter Helmbro coming down pit road for Force Esports in the 77 machine. A couple of time pole position winner so far this season.
and is coming to take his final pit stop. Of course, that's going to be about 17 laps of fuel that he's going to need to take to the end of the race. And it does, yes, looks like no tyres as we sort of expected.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen drivers take tyres, of course. It's going to gain you a tiny amount, if anything, it feels like at this stage, and it just may not be worth checking the boxes, shall we say. But that's a long stop. That is a very long stop for Helmbro as he heads his way out, and 18.5 seconds stationary.
How much is it for a speeding infringement? I never know, but sometimes obviously you speed on the entry pit lane. Yeah, so that's probably, yeah, maybe not a penalty, maybe just a little bit of damage, optional repairs that he took. He was in a couple of close battles though, so interesting to choose to do that at this time. But despite his pit stop, he's still in 13th place. So that is not too bad of a position. Slander there coming out of the pit lane as well. It's definitely pit stop time. Robert Eriksson from 7th place comes in. Aronson now takes over that 7th place. Also Jesper Eriksson in the background. So Eriksson's there in the background, and there's Rob Eriksson in 8th place. So Eriksson's almost a lap ahead of the driver who's in 7th place. Crazy to see, just how fast these top few guys are, as Zach Haflidsson also coming into the pit lane.
Yep, puff of smoke to try and get that car stopped for the pit lane speed limit here. About 65 kilometers an hour, and trundling his way down he comes. It's a bit of no man's land at the moment, at least as far as this race is concerned. He's sort of just running laps until the end now. That's the situation for the top three in general, it feels like at this stage. But still things undecided a bit further back. We got battles, close to a second, close to about 2 seconds. Ooh.
Yeah, that is very awkward. Bratberg and Blix there getting stuck behind him on the exit of turn 1, and that has actually saved Eriksson from going a lap down. Blix, of course, staying out the longest, going to the end of lap 31 on the fuel, managing to take the victory at the stage. So of course he's going to have less fuel to take, but is it going to be enough to close down anything on Eriksson? But those extra couple of seconds there that he's probably lost from being stuck behind Bratberg, an exit of turn 1, probably going to just hinder that just a little bit more. Gunnarsson has come into the pit lane as well.
Down and in, and 8.4 seconds are taking the short stints now straight out into some traffic. Not a battle for position though, as it comes out ahead of that grouping of cars. But hopefully he sort of keeps himself out of this particular battle, because it is Skoglund and Broström that is going on behind him at the moment, and Broström sending it down the inside and getting that clean pass over Skoglund. Of course, Broström has made his final stop, and Skoglund has not at the moment.
Yes, certainly not the day that I think Broström was potentially expecting. We know he's massively experienced in the ovals, has so many hundreds of victories, but yeah, 71 in 17th place, a lap down. We definitely expect him to be a little bit higher. So just a race to tick off, unfortunately, for the driver. He is the highest placed driver without a victory, which is not always the stat that you want to have next to your name.
Yeah, not ideal. Although I don't think Broström would necessarily mind that too much. I mean, yes, he would have expected a little bit more from this road course, but I think you kind of have to, in this situation, keep the big picture in mind. It's not completely awful finish. It's mid-pack. It's not towards the back, so I guess he's got that going for him, and keeping in points is important. But myself and Linus have quite a history. We used to compete against each other in the old UK Oval Leagues. Actually, in 2016, I think it's 2015 as well, but 2016 definitely, 2017, and we were so used to racing each other, and we were around about the same at the same point in the championship standings most of the time as well, which was pretty fun.
Yeah, Linus certainly, and you, certainly been around the world of sim racing and esports for a long time, which is great to see that we now have that sort of history, I guess, in a lot of these leagues. And also, this is I believe it's the 6th season of this league as well, so definitely nice to see. Dan Holmer there coming into the pit lane, and someone else, I think it's Hawkins Shot, just coming down in 101 machine as well, as Kenneth Tier drops into the pit lane, Skogland into the pit lane. So yeah, everyone is choosing this time to be their final stops for the night. But it's very interesting actually how we've seen some of the drivers, for instance like Ericsson, Blixt, even Havlicson, they're fast on oval or road, but it's funny how some drivers struggle to go from one side to the other, because there's also some normal road course races that, I mean, especially ones that you're going to see this weekend at the iRacing Daytona 24-hour. You put them in this league on the oval side of things, and they'll struggle there as well. It's funny how those don't always correlate.
Yeah, back when I used to run a lot of oval leagues, I'm going to go back into the history again. It's I always hated road courses, you know, even though I am European and it should be my home. But I never really got on with them as far as stock cars were concerned. They don't feel at home on this circuit. You know, they're big, heavy, lumbering beasts with a massive engine with no traction control, so you have to be really careful with modulating the throttle coming off the corner. They have a lot of body roll, which causes some handling issues sometimes, and yeah, it's not a comfortable situation. And I haven't even mentioned the brakes as well. You have to brake like 100 meters earlier than you would in any other car to try and get it stopped. And yeah, I recognize for some people it's a lot of fun, but it definitely wasn't for me.
Yes, certainly a completely different style. And something actually I've just noticed, are these two Force cars in different chassis? One's in the Ford, one's in the Camaro. That is a very interesting thing. Hadn't quite noticed that before. Oh, one of the other Fords drivers has had a bit of an issue there on the exit of turn number 1. And that is not going to be helping them, because they probably had a big shunt on the inside. Didn't quite see who it was. One of the drivers of one of the white Force machines, but they've definitely not been enjoying that. Dan Solo comes in. It's the 10 machine, Cedric Holmbaum. Bit of damage on that front left, so I wonder if he did the exact same as we saw on the superior cars. I think it was Ericsson, wasn't it, in towards turn 1, just completely went wide, and Holmbaum actually the same, locks up, and I mean, you just can't slow down at that point. Oh, and that's a massive hit, a lot more than what Ericsson had.
Yeah, big hit, and has dented in the front end of that Camaro a significant amount, and that's not quite going to help, especially, you know, given that's where the radiator is, the rest of the engine components are on these cars, and he's actually going to bring it down on towards pit lane. Is this a meatball flag? Yes, it is. I just checked on my screen. Meatball flag for the number 10. Has to come in and get that damage repaired. If it's too much, he'll probably retire.
Yeah, it's a shame with only 11 laps to go. And is that Eric Blixt as well coming down pit road? It's so funny, it's so slow, the pit road speed compared to at full speed, of course, for safety reasons. And there is Blixt coming in the 95 machine. So he actually did 29 laps on this one. So still a little bit of saving there for Blixt, but he's just going to have 11 laps to go in this race. 7 seconds. So yes, about half a tank he's got to the end of this race. So he has saved, yeah, probably 3 seconds or so compared to some of the other drivers around him. But realistically, he's still 30 seconds off the lead, which is pretty crazy. There's an average of half a second a lap. Yes, Ericsson.
Yeah, that's very comfortable. That's a stat that Ericsson will definitely be love to hear. It's he's been class of the field here so far, and it feels like if he keeps control of this one, as he hopefully doesn't tap the wall too many times like that, like he just stayed out the final corner, he should be okay as far as a race win is concerned. It'll be another race win over the course of the season for Ericsson. Will take his tally up to 5. The next closest is Blixt and Holmer that are stuck on 2. So it's been a fantastic season so far for 37, and it's not going to stop here.
Yeah, certainly not. And of course, winning the Formula Series as well. Back in the autumn of last year, which was sort of on the alternate week. So not only was he winning races and being up the top 1 week, but then the next he was jumping into the Formula 4 car and winning that as well, which is an amazing, yeah, it's obviously just his era of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, and he's just in form and he's looking very good for the championship. But you never know, because if you get yourself into the championship 4 and you win that final race, things can all change very quickly in this league and in this style of racing. As we come back to P15, this is Anton Orman. He's got Eric Lundberg just in behind. There's Bruce going massively wide in the background as well. So still battles to be had lower down.
Yeah, absolutely. As it's a bit of, well, lead lap traffic that's on the back of these guys trying to get its way through here at the moment. So to the inside that are close. Of course, that is, well, easily done, I suppose. Like, no complaints whatsoever about how that one was negotiated. The lap traffic has generally been okay so far this race. We have had, obviously, the situation beforehand where one almost affected the battle for the podium and for the top 5 positions, but that still maintained the status quo coming out of the bus stop. So in the end, it didn't really affect things. Meanwhile, further back towards the outside of the top 20 now, this is Skoglund and Ratberg in the same postcode.
Yes, it's getting very interesting with some of these lapped cars and everything like that. It's certainly a bit of a difficult time of the race for some of the leading cars. So where are we lapped down to now? 8th position is lapped, and Fredriksson and Solo might even be by the end of the race. Crazy, crazy stats, and that is just on pure pace. Well, Skoglund going way wide there, coming down the carousel, and that's just going to be a very awkward situation as they come onto this back straight. But looks like they actually managed to handle that very well between all of the drivers. Kenneth Tibb doing a big send in the background as well into a corner that he went off at a little bit earlier. But manages to not crash this time and going yeah, a little bit further. Actually, that is 4 positions. No, it's not. Holmgren just sorry, it's car ahead. There's the orange car there of Holmgren as he tries to chase him down to get back up there inside the top 15.
Now that's the goal. With a handful of laps left to run, definitely not outside the realm of possibility. Just 1.3 seconds between Tier and Holmgren. A little bit further down the road, and of course, you know, that 0-2-1 will definitely be well aware of that situation. Has a little bit of the a traffic ahead. It's going to angle towards the inside for the bus stop. Will the lap traffic give it up easily? Yes, he will. Just still a slightly compromised line there from Holmgren, which will mess up his run into the second apex there. That's not ideal, and it's given another couple of tenths of a second to the 49 behind.
Yep, certainly the. Yeah, it's just something to think about. Is the lap traffic in a situation like this, especially? I mean, that's Skoglund as the Skoglund into the 83 machine. He unfortunately qualified down. Actually, I think he just didn't do a lap in qualifying, so he started from the back, and he is the lowest road course iRating in this series. So maybe not the most confident when it comes to this. But he is still there in 22nd place, and he's ahead of multiple drivers, which is very good. We've still got 29, only one actual DNF on the race, Robert Erling, at this moment in the race. That is the red card there of Wahlin, who is in 18th place and has Tony Uvenen behind, but I think that's quite a bit behind actually. Yeah, coming out of turn 1, it must be for Uvenen. So 3 cars back there, so looking very good. But unfortunately for Wahlin, having a not the race that they would have wanted after being up inside that top 10.
No, it is a bitter one for Wahlin. Yes, he's been able to get back out there. Yes, he's trying to get as many points as possible, but you can't help but think what could have been. He had an amazing form in the early portions of this race. It was just that single problem, that single instance, all of his own doing in towards the bus stop. Yes, the damage and the meatball flag was unlucky, I acknowledge that, but it's an incident that shouldn't really happen in the first place, right?
Yeah, that's very true. It was a solo personal mistake that went over the curb a little bit too much on the entry of the bus stop, and especially as by that point Fredriksson had the spin, so there was no direct battle. There's no cars around. So yeah, it happens. It's racing. Unfortunately, accidents happen, and then unfortunately you have some further issues as we go further down. We've got Anton Orman. There's Lundberg just ahead, and then we've also got at least Brewster in 4th position, a couple of cars behind. So there's one bit of lap traffic. That's Dan Holmer. So actually, it's laps the other way around. Holmer's lapping these drivers in their battle. Oh, as Ullmann tries to get out of the way, that's actually giving Broström a run down the front straight. Ullmann has to come back in on line to try and get a bit of slipstream. Is Broström going to send it on the brakes? They're pretty equal with their braking marker, so not this time around, but certainly just showing you how lap traffic can actually involve the cars being lapped as well and get a little bit awkward for their battles.
It's a topic that we bring up in multi-class a lot, and it's transferred over here into road course stock car racing. Both the cars lapping and the cars being lapped can use the whole situation to their advantage. And look at the run that Broström's got now. He's going to angle himself towards the inside for the bus stop, not brave enough to go for it. And in fact, that's more of the race conservation move, I think, there from Linus.
Yeah, is the difference between 16th and 17th really worth the risk up the inside? And it definitely wasn't that time, because Ullmann's made a mistake and Broström will have a much more comfortable move down the inside, but he actually has a bit of a wiggle on the exit, so Ullmann is going to be able to keep flat out on that outside and hold on. But that was almost a mistake that cost him a position. Broström has to sit in behind in that 71 machine, lap 66 we are now, so just 5 laps remaining, not too many to make the overtake.
Yeah, time is of the essence now. He's going to drive it hard. Is Broström coming off for the final corner across the line once again. Ullmann is going to be quaking in his boots here a little bit. 0.3 of a second is the gap on the entry to the first corner, and a piece of lap traffic ahead. Oh, there's an error from Ullmann. He struggles to get the power down, and now he's under threat into the S's.
Certainly is up the hill. Is Broström going to have the run that he wants to try and make this stick? We saw him having actually a bit more of a run last time around. I think Broström had to just get out of it a little bit more than he would have wanted, and that is not going to be the overtake in towards the bus stop, but just showing you the pressure on these drivers as they try and battle for position. Slightly wide of the apex, up the inside for Broström. We saw it sort of an open door last lap. It wasn't enough to make the move, but this time even bigger door opens and Broström gets through without even sweating it in the end. But Ullmann, he's coming back, he's sliding, he wants that 16th place.
Yeah, but may have just overheated the tyres very, very slightly. It will come back down into their operating window, of course, but it may take a lap short as this. It might even take 2 or 3 laps for it to start feeling normal again after you've put a heat cycle through it. But yeah, that is on. Well worked there from Broström, able to pick up that opportunity through the bus stop and complete that pass. Now he can look a little bit further down the road. He's still within a second of Lundberg, so E15 still possible for Broström. It just depends on how well Lundberg can defend, because Broström's going to be in the slipstream here down the back straight. It's just a matter of how much is he going to gain.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be this lap, but the momentum is coming his way and potentially on the next lap. Let's see how much Broström can close in, though, up towards the bus stop chicane. Just a few laps remaining, and he definitely has a great shot of getting this next position for P15. Lundberg hasn't quite the pace that he would have wanted. He's dropped down a little bit. Broström, he's been sat quietly there in that place all afternoon. But as we come through the carousel, look how much he's closed in. I mean, he's probably about 5, 6, 7 car lengths just on this lap alone, up towards the penultimate corner. And the final real braking zone of the lap. Is it going to be enough for Ascend? Not close enough, but I think on the next lap he should have this.
Yeah, look at how racy he is at the moment. He's really, really pushing in these final couple of laps and following as close as possible, coming through the final corner now. Currently on to lap 68 of 71. We're just a few from the end now. It's going to only be a few opportunities for Broström to be able to do this. He's going to have a couple of tries at it at least, but I imagine he'd want to get it done on the first.
Oh, definitely. You want to overtake first attempt. It's the easiest one. If you sit there for a few laps, you sort of get stuck behind a little bit. He actually almost was too fast there, coming through turn 2. Now as we get onto the straight section, he lost that momentum that he had onto the straight. Unfortunately, once again, is not going to be the overtake that he would have wanted. The Street Trends driver is looking very good to hold on to this 15th place if he can just make sure that he's holding on to these positions and these apexes, I should say. As we come through the carousel, Linus definitely able to keep it a lot tighter up the inside. That's exactly what we saw with Ullmann. And once again, he has a bit of a better run through that corner.
Yeah, imposing figure is that Camaro right up into the back bumper of the 18. Again, in towards the final corner. Lundberg has really no room to breathe here at the moment, because once step 1 foot out of line and make an error, Brostrom's right there. He is right there, and he's even showing a nose down the inside of turn 1.
3 to go here at the Glen, and that was a good exit there from, wasn't quite as good apex, I should say, from Brewster, but wasn't able, slid on the exit. Is it enough though? He's a little bit, he's sort of half a car length further back than he actually was last lap, but this might work out well because he closes in at the proper time as they come through the King on towards the back straight. As we come up the hill, is it enough to get down the inside? It's going to be a bit of a send. He backs out of that one, and he wasn't far enough alongside. It's not actually the longest straight in the world. You really have to get the move done out of the final kink as such to get yourself in position. And Brostrom has to sit behind as we get to 2 to go with Ericsson leading.
Yeah, Brostrom driving it in hard here. It's, look at it. He just slingshots through the exit of the corner. Brostrom has been absolutely nailing that carousel for the last couple of laps, and we'll draw it alongside. A bit of a squeeze given by Lundberg. They're back single file for the penultimate corner, but look how close they're getting here, Cam. This is going to go down to the wire.
Certainly is. He's setting him up for a move on this front straight. He slowed him down for the last 2 corners. Can this be the move for Brostrom? Finally down towards turn number 1. The 71 Bright Esports machine looks to the inside. Is he close enough for a dive? No. Eric Lundberg is putting his car in the perfect position to hold on to this, and with just 2 laps remaining in this race, is it enough as Jesper Eriksson comes to start his final lap, but these 2 won't be lap once more, so they'll have 2 more attempts as we come up the hill for another time.
Yeah, here we go. Once again, there's battle further up that might be brewing as well between Solander and Allard. Cal Holmerain and Tier involved in that as well, so we might need a view of multiple situations here on the final lap of things. And Stelina's still not there. He's overcommitted to the first apex. He's going to have to go wide. And that's going to be a slowdown penalty as well for Brostrom. And Oman's not too far behind. He's 4 seconds behind this. Brostrom has to be super, super careful.
Yeah, he might have just lost out in that battle, unfortunately, and close off on that one. But it is last lap time, and Jesper Eriksson is leading by 20 seconds. It's been an absolutely dominant performance from your championship leader, just showing why he is leading the championship. And 20 seconds from anyone is to be said, but also from Haflidsson, a champion in his own right. Blix, of course, multiple race winner. Gunnarsson, reigning champion. He's absolutely dominated the field. And the AMRT Grand Prix goes to the Force Esports driver. Jesper Eriksson takes his 5th victory of the season. And what a dominant victory it was. 20 seconds back it's going to be for Michael Haflidsson as we get battling on the final lap. There is the 302 machine of Allard. Battling there with Solander. Solander gets through on that final lap, and that is down in 13th place. We had only 6 drivers on the lead lap in the end as the battles continue lower down. Final lap for these drivers. Brostrom in towards the chicane. Not quite close enough this time around, but he needs to set him up. But once more, he goes over the chicane. He goes too wide, 2 laps in a row. He makes a mistake there.
Yeah, and going to be dropping off the back now. He's going to be lucky to, he has a slowdown penalty, and in fact, I can confirm he has a slowdown penalty in this situation, so going to have to drop a little bit further off the back and actually have to serve it, because if he crosses the line with a slowdown penalty, that is a rather large penalty in terms of added time at the end of the race, but he's still pressing on here. He's not giving up the ghost just yet. We'll have to see how this one works out in the final corner.
Yeah, interesting. He's pushing so much, but out of the final corner is going to be Lundberg. He comes to the checker first. Brostrom slows down, trying to give up the time while keeping that position. And in the end, it's going to have to be it's Solo actually just in behind in that 6th position, just following him over across the line. As Anton Norman as well, and the 42 machine will follow them through. Crazy race that we saw here. It might have spread out a little bit, but the battles that we did see were amazing. To be honest, and the racing and the way you had to set it up over multiple laps was certainly quite something. The only road course race of the season goes to Jesper Eriksson as he gives us some donuts on the start-finish straight. He's going to be very, very happy indeed with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A well-deserved race win by 20.7 seconds over his next closest rival. That's Michael Haflidsson. What a dominant performance from the number 37. And he's picked up his 5th race win of the season as well in a very, very comfortable spot here. Is Jesper Eriksson. Can't really complain at all.
Absolutely not. We'll try and get a word with them straight away from the donuts and into the commentary booth. We bring in Jesper Eriksson, the 37 Force Esports driver. And Jesper, the only road course race of the season. We know you're good after winning the Formula 4 Championship a couple of months ago, but that certainly was a dominant victory. Well done.
Thank you very much, boys. First of all, just thank my team, all the boys in 4C Sports, and all of the sponsors. It's a pleasure to drive with all of them, and I absolutely love doing this every Thursday and just spend some time with them. An awesome race today. I thoroughly enjoyed it because these cars are one of my absolute favorite cars to just drive on a road course. They're so unpredictable, unpredictably predictable. It's so they're
Well,
Yeah, I think Jesper might have just dropped out there, unfortunately, for a moment. But of course, Jesper, you've won 5 of the 11 races so far, so almost half. You're looking very good. But how are you feeling as we get closer and closer towards the to the playoffs? You're looking good, of course, on the playoff points as well. But it's still a long way to go. So do you think you can keep this momentum going until Homestead?
Hopefully I can. Yes, I'm not so very worried about the first of the playoff races, but I am quite worried about the final race because when everything goes down to the wire, everyone can win, and everyone there is a deserved winner. So it's kind of a bit tight, but I'm gonna be nervous all the way going there now.
Yes, absolutely. And congratulations for today. 5th race win of the season, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much, boys. See you next time.
Yeah, awesome stuff there. We'll bring in next Michael Haflidsson, the 81 machine driver, finishing 2nd place today. And Michael, I'd say that's a really good race. Of course, you missed out by 20 seconds from Jesper, but you yourself, I mean, you really pulled away from the cars behind. So you must be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, sponsoring the race, I would have preferred winning it. Kind of sucks that Jesper got away. I kept close to him the first laps and then made one small mistake and just tried to save my tires, which was obviously a mistake, trying to save them. Looking at Jesper, he was able to push them all the way, which I didn't think was possible, but sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I mean, it's still a really good result, coming back and getting a 2nd place.
And how did you prefer this car in the road course format? Of course, our only a road of the season. Watkins as well, such a historic track, is certainly something a bit different.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we had a road course last season. I won that one, so I'm pretty good at road courses. I kind of like the combo. It's not my favorite combo, but it's quite fun. Gets a bit dull at times. I mean, I've not raced anyone the entire race. I've done 71 laps, almost sleeping, which is kind of boring, but it's fun being on a road course, for once at least.
Yes, certainly. And well done for your 2nd place. Still a very strong result for you and your team. So yeah, good luck, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And then lastly, we'll bring in the driver of the number 95, Eric Blixt. And of course, Eric winning the stage as well. So firstly, let's talk about that one. You saved the fuel. You stayed out to the end of lap 31. So yeah, a lot of sort of strategy going on for your race today.
Yeah, just try to figure out if I had enough fuel to make it and start a fuel saving from the go. Came to the last lap and realized I was 0.0 short, so that was kind of sketchy, but well, we got a stage point. We didn't really have the pace to challenge for the 2 top spots, so I think that was the strategy pretty much. Take the stage and get home with the 3rd.
Absolutely. So you don't think there was any way you could have really challenged the guys up ahead, even if you weren't fuel saving?
I tried last season, but I just ended up burning the tires off, so I could hang with them for like 5 or 6 laps and then just fall back and be all miserable for the rest of the race with the burnt up tires. So I think this strategy worked out pretty good and still had an enjoyable race.
Yeah, certainly. And next time we go to North Wilkes, double header. How are you looking forward to that? Of course, a completely different style of racing again.
I mean, I've done pretty good on short tracks, so I hope I can make this car do some short track things.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe take another race victory, because that's really the only place that you're losing out to Jesper so far this season.
Yeah, he's been going strong with the wins now. Had some PC issues on Atlanta. Thankfully, I fixed this week thanks to iRacing support. But well, I hope the PC works and I can go after some wins.
And nice. So yeah, congratulations for P3 today, and good luck in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks.
Yes, that was an awesome race at Watkins Glen. So we'll take you through the results of how it ended up. Of course, just speaking to the top three there. But we did have 30 drivers in the race today. Jesper Eriksson having a dominant victory by 20 seconds, of Haflidsen, of course, in second place, and Eric Blixt in third. But behind it was Gunnarsson, Holmer, and Dan Solo, the only other drivers on the lead lap, with Fredriksson, Aronson, Eriksson, and Helmbro rounding out your top 10. Jesper Eriksson also getting the fastest lap there on lap 4. So he's definitely the most dominant driver here today, really having such a good time. But of course, the battles in the midfield, they went certainly quite far, and quite pushing the limits quite a lot. It was an amazing evening of racing to see Holmgren, Tyr, Salander, Allard and Lundberg inside your top 15. Broström, unfortunately, almost 2 laps down there, with Ullman just in behind, with Wallenuvenen and Hogman inside your top 20. But yeah, drivers 2-3 laps down. Oliver Wallin there up inside the top 5 for a little time, ended up P21. Nyholm, Skoglund, Larsen, Schott, Brewston, Bratberg, Holmbaum, Johansson, and Erling round out your top 30 drivers here for the AMRT Grand Prix from the Glen, the only road course of the season. We thoroughly enjoyed it. But of course, we go back racing next week. We rejoin with the Formula 4 Championship, and then the week after we return to North Wilkes, and another double header is going to be a lot of fun before we see our regular season champion at Talladega on the 29th of February. Still plenty of racing to go then after that in the playoffs. It's been myself, Cameron, Roger, Connery, Maddock alongside me on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And until next week, we wish you goodbye from the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan.
Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Hos Bright Esports i Västerås kan du testa på både NASCAR och olika formulabilar, precis som Svenska Eracingligan deltagare. Gå in på brightesports.com och boka just din tid.